the scammer who sold the Eiffel Tower twice. This is without a doubt one of the most egregious and fascinating acts of deceit in the annals of human existence. A compelling story is told about the con artist who sold the Eiffel Tower on two separate occasions. A guy named Victor Lustig, whose ingenuity and audacity were only matched by his criminal prowess, serves as the main character in this narrative. His con artistry is absolutely intriguing. Lustig's plans were defined by their complexity, as well as his exceptional ability to take advantage of the trust and greed of his victims. Lustig's schemes were also marked by the sophistication of his methods. The fact that he is so bold in his approach to deceit is illustrated by this particular swindle, which involves the Eiffel Tower. Victor Lustig was a master of the art of disguise and manipulation. He was born in Austria-Hungary in the year 1890, and he was skilled in both of these areas. The fact that he was able to move in high social circles, which was crucial for the fraudulent operations he engaged in, was made possible by the combination of his charisma and his intelligence. The most famous scam that Lustig ever perpetrated took place in the early 1920s, when Paris was still reeling from the wreckage of World War I, going through a period of economic upheaval. The city of Paris was going through a period of political and economic unrest at the time. It was during this period that Lustig began to focus his attention on the Eiffel Tower, which is usually regarded as being among the most recognizable landmarks in the entire realm of the world. The Eiffel Tower, which was completed in 1889 for the purpose of the Exposition Universelle, was a symbol of both the splendor of Paris and the advancements in engineering that were accessible at that time period. On the other hand, from the beginning of the 1920s, it had already developed into a difficult topic. It was deemed by a large number of people in Paris to be an eyesore, and they debated whether or not it should be demolished. Due to the fact that Lustig was taking part in the debate, he was able to obtain the perfect cover for his plot. His purpose was to convince those who were unaware of the situation that the Eiffel Tower was being sold for scrap metal. He did this by taking advantage of the general public's disapproval of the tower and their lack of comprehension of its true value. Lustig's con began with the systematic preparation of a story that was not real. This was the first step in the con. He purported to be a representative of the French government and stated that the Eiffel Tower was going to be dismantled and sold as scrap metal due to the enormous amount of money that was necessary to maintain it operational. He made this statement while pretending to be a representative of the French government. In addition, he presented fabricated documents in order to provide credibility to his charges. He did this in order to make his story appear more convincing for the audience. As a matter of fact, he even pretended to meet with the legitimate officials. While Lustig was in the midst of preparing these documents, he demonstrated an extraordinary amount of attention to detail, which revealed his intimate awareness of the profession of lying. The first thing he did in order to carry out his plan was to seek potential victims, which he identified as wealthy scrap metal traders who would be interested in purchasing the structure's metal. He then proceeded to carry out his plan. Lustig was aware that these merchants would be intrigued in the potential of obtaining such a precious product at a price that was substantially lower than the price that was now being offered on the market price. It turned out that André Poisson, a wealthy and influential figure in the scrap metal industry, was the person he had chosen to be his target. He made his selection with great care. Lustig, who appeared to be a government official, approached Poisson, and he was convinced that the potential to purchase the Eiffel Tower was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Poisson said that he would not pass up the chance to acquire the Eiffel Tower. Poisson, who was overcome with awe at the prospect of reaching such a massive accord, was eager to get things moving as quickly as possible. By cleverly playing on his greed sense of hurry, Lustig was able to effectively convince him to pay a substantial bribe in order to clinch the sale. This convinced him to pay the money. Since Poisson was under the notion that he was making a smart investment, he distributed a sizable quantity of money to those who were struggling financially. After Lustig, who had been the recipient of the sum, vanished without a trace after Poisson's departure, Poisson was left to confront the reality that he had been tricked into believing something that was wrong. The Eiffel Tower was still intact in spite of the fact that Poisson's money had been spent. The death of Poisson did not bring Lustig's scheme to a successful conclusion. In addition, the audacity of his scheme was further highlighted when he took the decision to sell the Eiffel Tower to a different victim. When he went after a rival in the scrap metal dealer industry this time, he used the same narrative and techniques as he had used in the past. Another victim, who was just as selfish and misguided as the first victim, fell for Lustig's deception and paid an additional large amount for the opportunity that was promoted to be the acquisition of the Eiffel Tower. This victim was just as misguided and greedy as the first victim. After the second victim realized that he had been missiled, he eventually reported the situation to the appropriate authorities, which led to the revelation of the deceit that had been perpetrated against him. After the initial investigation, the subsequent investigation provided light on the extent of Lustig's dishonesty during the investigation. Because of the astounding amount of cleverness and intelligence that Lustig's concept possessed, the authorities were taken aback and profoundly confused by it. His skill as a con artist was proved by the fact that he was able to dupe two different victims by adopting the same complex ruse. This demonstrates his versatility as a con artist. The deception that Lustig perpetrated in relation to the Eiffel Tower was considered to be a masterclass in deceit. It was a demonstration of how schemes that are extremely successful may be created by employing psychological manipulation, creating stories that are persuasive, and taking advantage of human avarice. Lustig's ability to develop a story that was plausible and to take advantage of the wishes and ignorance of his victims was a crucial part in his success. He was able to do both of these things. As time goes on, his story continues to serve as an intriguing instance of the lengths to which a skilled con artist is capable of going in order to achieve their goals. During the aftermath of the scam, Lustig's image as a mastermind behind criminal schemes continued to expand, which contributed to his rising renown. In spite of the fact that he had been evading capture for a lengthy amount of time, he continued to engage in a wide range of fraudulent activities. His life of crime continued. The fact that he was able to consistently stay one step ahead of the cops throughout the crisis is evidence of his resourcefulness and cunning throughout the entire issue. Lustig's life was ultimately cut short in 1935, when he was captured and convicted guilty of a variety of felonies, one of which being the infamous Eiffel Tower hoax. Lustig's life was ultimately cut short, despite the fact that he was condemned to prison and passed away shortly after his death. His reputation as one of the most daring con artists in the history of the world continued to endure. In addition to being a story about criminal behavior, the story of Victor Lustig and his effort to sell the Eiffel Tower twice is also a reflection of human nature and the vulnerabilities that con artists take advantage of. In other words, the story is a mirror of human nature. In the context of business transactions involving money, the story of Lustig offers as a helpful reminder of the need of exercising skepticism and completing due diligence. The reality that even the assets that appear to be the safest and most valuable can be vulnerable to trickery if necessary measures are not taken is brought to light by this instance. An indication of the incredible lengths that individuals are prepared to go to in order to accomplish their aims, as well as the great cunning that may be applied in the art of deceit. Lustig's daring exploits continue to fascinate the imagination. They serve as an illustration of the extraordinary lengths that humans are willing to go to. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.